politics, entertainment, news, and business. And this is KMTV. We are on the screen, we are everywhere. The best online Liberian platform you have. Make the best use of it. My name is Frank Adams, and I endorse this channel. For politics, entertainment, news, and business. And this is KMTV. We are on the screen, we are everywhere. The best online Liberian platform you have. Make the best use of it. My name is Frank Adams, and I endorse this channel.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. So many options, huh? I'll just get to it, Dawn. I know it's right. Come on. Get some chips too. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. I don't get no good morning back, y'all. Okay. Good morning, ladies. Good morning. Good morning. You guys, if you have your phones out, go ahead and sign into the Minty. Good morning. Just one so I can get... Ambrose or Max, can someone help me? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. No good morning, Max? No, none? No good morning, sis? You gonna put your hand against it? Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Nothing? No, Aaron will say that. Okay, all right. There we go. He's gonna chip too. What you want? Good morning, good morning.
You guys walking in front of the food. This inside your food. I'm not going to go for all of
There's snacks. There's other snacks.
No, get your own.
You want more? You're right there. Where the fuck is the market? Where are you? You're actually
Good morning, Cooper. Now we just practiced this. Everybody that walked past, I said good morning. I probably got 10 in a possible. Good morning, Cooper. Thank you, thank you. Go ahead and fill up the seats closest to the front. If you've been here before, you know that there's a login code. If you have your phones, go ahead and log into the program so you can follow it on your phone. For those who grabbed snacks, I need you to promise me that you are not going to put those wrappers on the floor, or we will not be able to provide snacks again. There are trash cans when you leave out. So yes, thank you. We're going to have to work on some call and response. I see we don't have a lot of cheerleaders in here. Good morning. All right. All right, everyone have their phone? We got our phones? Yes, no? Okay, so this is what I'm a nurse by trade, and a lot of times I do assessments. And I feel like over 60% of you have your headphones or your earphones in and you can't even hear me. So because of the caliber of material that we have to present to you today, I need your undivided attention. So I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the presentation. First, I want you to do an assessment of who you're sitting next to. If that's going to be problematic for you to receive the information that you need to receive today, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to make a move. So we good? Okay, good. means you're making good choices. Thank you. So thank you for taking your earphones out. Thank you for taking your headphones off. And thank you for being good stewards of the space. My name is Latoya, Miss Latoya. I work for the City of Brooklyn Center. My role is to bring a public health approach to public policy. I've also spent about a little over a decade in the operating rooms doing trauma surgery, as well as coaching high school girls basketball. So I won't give you guys my plug for Gus Smackers this year. We'll talk about that later. But today, I want to bring in front of you some very serious information about our fentanyl crisis and opioids. And there are times in your life when you say, whew, I'm so glad I heard that. I'm so glad I was in that room. I'm so glad I met that person. And I can tell you today that the conversation that we are going to have around the opioid crisis is one that is much needed, and we need you guys to be champions. Fentanyl is killing young folks at a rate that far surpasses any other type of crime or death. And we need to get the information to you. When I was your age, we had a Say No to Drugs campaign. All right, you guys, anybody, by show of hands, anybody heard of the Say No to Drugs campaign? Yeah, so those are all people my age that raised their hand. So this is very specific to the fentanyl crisis. Most important to you right now. And if there's something that's not on there, raise your hand and let us know if you're comfortable with doing that. Stopping the gun violence by show of hands. Impacted by gun violence. Yeah. Communication with adults. That can always be a struggle at this age. At my age too, y'all. I have a hard time communicating with my mother sometimes. Academic support. Access to resources. Good. And drug awareness. Give you a little time to fill that in. So does academic support look like tutoring? Does that look like, what does that look like? What does academic support look like for you? Anybody willing to share? Support in the classroom? Okay. Say it again, I can't hear you. Okay, access to teachers? Okay. Tutoring? Okay. Anybody else? Those are all good areas. One thing I can tell you that academic support is an area that we focus on at the Inner Hero. We have mentorship programs, we have academic support at our after-school program, and if you log onto our website, you'll have complete access to that. Again, I appreciate y'all sharing. And so, that's the website. All right. So, I'm gonna not spend too much of my time up here because I want to make sure that I give an opportunity for you to ask questions and to present our keynote speakers. The last time that we were here, we touched on a little bit about the opioid crisis when former Minneapolis Police Chief Arredondo was here. And so one of my roles is I sit on the Hennepin County Advisory Board for opioid and substance abuse. And so I have the opportunity to work with two amazing leaders. One, I call her a systems expert. You get the opportunity to navigate in your school and academic system. How many of you guys have jobs? All right, so when you go to your employer, that system setup looks completely different than the system set up at school. The rules are different, how you engage and communicate with folks is different, and so one of the things that Ms. Lolita does is that she is a systems expert, so she has an amazing gift at navigating across systems. How many are you familiar with the county that you live in? What county do you live in? You live in, this is not Ramsey County. Is this Ramsey County? Hennepin County. Why did you trick me?
I don't live in Cooper.
Okay, you're right, I hear you. I said the county you live in. So your school is located in Hennepin County. And Ms. Lolita Ulloa is the Director of System Design and Health and Human Services in Hennepin County. She supports and leads a large-scale systems initiative in health and human services and across the country. So when I tell you that you have amazing thought leaders in front of you, this is one. And so if there's anything that you can grab from the conversation that she's about to have from you and the material that she's about to present to you, I ask that you hold on to it. She's also brought someone who I have an amazing time listening to because she has an immense amount of knowledge when it comes to public health, Miss Julie Bauch. She's a registered nurse and she has a master's degree in global health science. I don't want to do her any injustice there. Global, not just community, not just city block wise, but global. And so they're able to speak across various different diversities and jurisdictions. And so I felt that it was important. We felt at the Inner Hero that was important to bring them here to speak to you today. We also have Mr. Max Teha, who's going to share his story with you once they present. And so I'm going to relinquish my time and allow our speakers to come up and share the information that they have for you at this time. I ask that you guys tap in right now.
Good morning, everyone. The last time I was in a high school auditorium, it was 1977 when I was a senior in high school, and I was in the West Side Story. So it's been a really long time since I've been in a high school auditorium, but I love it, and it's great seeing the energy that Inner Hero has. And we're really grateful to have been asked to be here and talk a little bit about the work that we do. That picture was one big picture for me, holy moly. We have a team in Hennepin County, your county, which works on just the opioid crisis. And as you'll hear from my partner, the opioid crisis is a crisis not only here in Minnesota, but it is also a crisis nationally and internationally right now. And the group that is the most affected is you, is all of you and all of your families. So I'm hoping that today what you get out of this presentation, is it resources, is it basic information, is it a connection to us? We have our emails in the website, and you will be able to connect with us whenever you want. We're more than happy to do that and answer questions. So as we were introduced, my background is in law, so I've been a lawyer for 40 years. And most of my work is in public service, so I've been a public service servant the entire time. I immigrated from Ecuador, South America, as a first-generation immigrant. My parents, like most immigrant parents, my father worked 3 jobs, my mom worked 2 jobs. Grew up in Spanish Harlem, then went to Massachusetts, and then did most of my academic work in the Boston area. And then moved to Minnesota about, 29 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, because I just met a guy and I met him and followed him here, and then we got married. So my work right now is probably some of the most fulfilling work I've done as a public servant, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, I'll do a quick intro of myself. Hi, thanks for having us here. It's really nice to be in a school setting. Like Lolita, I have not been in a school since I was a senior in high school, and that was in 1999. So you are talking to people who come from the 1900s. But we come with a lot of experience and a lot of love for youth. I am a registered nurse by training, which means I went to nursing school. Did a lot of work in hospitals and clinics, and found my way far more interested in public health and global health. So for Hennepin County, which is a local government that serves all the people who live in this county, I started working for public health. Now what you probably know about public health is the COVID pandemic. That's all public health. But what I do specifically working with Lolita is around the opioid crisis and the fentanyl crisis that's in our community. So really grateful to be here as a part of this team and speak with you today. Because we are focusing specifically on opioids, I'm going to go through some acronyms that you may or may not know. So what we say a lot is OUD, opioid use disorder, or we say SUD, substance use disorder. MOOD is also shorthand for medications for opioid use disorder. So people who have an addiction or a dependency on opioids can take medicine. They can take MOOD, which helps treat that disorder. And then there's another word I want you to know, you may have heard of it, naloxone or Narcan, which reverses an overdose for opioids. I'm going to take a note from LaToya's page. Can we see a show of hands if you've heard of naloxone, heard of Narcan? You kind of know like what it does? Okay, beautiful. So something I just really want to emphasize is that Lolita and I have different backgrounds, but we have come together in our local government as public servants, civil servants, working on the same issue. So when you're thinking about your career and what it means to be a civic servant, there are many paths that you can go and get into all sorts of stuff that you never ever thought you'd be an expert on. The other thing I want to emphasize is you can ask us any question. You will not surprise us. It's definitely something we've heard before. And if you're too shy, we'll give you our email addresses and you can find us, certainly. I always ground us in data when I talk about the opioid crisis. So I'm going to describe what you're seeing here. And like LaToya said, this is a very serious topic, so we want you to take it seriously. This is a chart that describes opioid-related deaths in Hennepin County, which is the blue, versus all of Minnesota, the entire state, which is gray. And you can see it broken down by year. But what I want you to take away is that year over year through time, Hennepin County always accounts for about a third of the entire state's opioid-related deaths. So if you feel like we have a big problem in our county, it's because we do. And if you feel like it is burdensome and heavy, it's because it is. And whatever we can do in Hennepin County will affect our entire state. Ramsey, Hennepin, up north, down south, and all the people who live in this state. I always pause for questions, but I think I'll wait till the end, unless I see a hand go up. So the next slide is that I really want to drive home that we're in a fentanyl crisis. I know that former chief of police for the Minneapolis Police Department, Chief Rondo, came, and I think he got into fentanyl, I think he got into opioids, but what I want you to know is that dark blue that you see on the earlier years, those are pills. Those are pills that people were taking and dying from that were opioids. Vicodin, oxycodone, OxyContin, Percocet, morphine, those are the kinds of things that were prescription. We are completely now in a fentanyl crisis. Fentanyl is an opioid. It's just far more potent, and it's in all of these other pills when you don't know that it's in them. And I'm going to get into a little bit more of that later. But what I want you to know is that prescription pill crisis that we used to be in is no longer. We are officially in a fentanyl crisis here in our community.
So that just means all of the prescriptions that the pharmaceutical companies were prescribing and over-prescribing negligently, and I'll talk a little bit more about that settlement with the pharmaceutical companies later, is not the problem any longer. If you are getting a prescription at a pharmacy, that is the most protective way to use a prescription pill. anything outside of getting your prescription at a pharmacy is potentially deadly because of the fentanyl crisis.
What we do at Hennepin County as your local government falls under 3 categories. We either do prevention, response, or treatment. Prevention means exactly what's happening right now, education, preventing anybody from using opioids or having an opioid use disorder. Response means we know people have opioid use and we want to make sure that we keep them alive. And then treatment is getting people who have opioid use into treatment and long-term recovery so that they can heal. I'm going to go through some very, very, very basics. They might be things you know, but like LaToya said, I want these images and these words to really stick in your head so that you can be the leaders of knowledge in your communities. Fentanyl is a type of opioid. And opioids are a class of drugs that are used to treat pain. Opioids can include prescription pain pills like OxyContin, Vicodin, and Percocet, as well as fentanyl, and then the street drug, the illicit street drug, heroin. You can get fentanyl from a doctor, but it is very rare, and it is only for severe pain. The problem that we're seeing, that graph I showed you that we're in a fentanyl crisis, is because fentanyl is sold illegally. It is not being given out by these doctors. Fentanyl is synthetic, and what that means is that people can make it. They can make it with other substances, and they can press it into pills where you don't know what's in that pill. It is 50 times more stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine, which means that it is a super deadly substance, especially when you don't know what you're getting. I think one of the most impactful images is this one with a pencil, and there's only a few grains of fentanyl on the tip of that pencil, because that is all that it takes to cause an overdose of fentanyl.
Yeah, on Sunday I was at a forum where a young man was talking about his use at the high school. He was a junior at the time, and he was using a pill that he had bought online, and so was his friend. His friend overdosed with the same amount of fentanyl. They both had the same type of pill. They bought it from the same person. He overdosed. He gave him Narcan. He did not survive. And right after that happened, this young man used again. But his friend, who used the drug that he was using, that they found online, killed his friend. So when we're talking about that pencil and that amount of fentanyl, it can be that or even less than that for anybody.
Yeah, and I really want to drive home that fentanyl can be a prescription, but what we're seeing here in this crisis is that it's made and sold illegally. We know that people your age are getting fentanyl and these illegal pills the most often off of Snapchat. I am not telling you that to give you information on how to get the pills. I'm telling you that because that is how dangerous these social media apps can be. And because the person who sells it to you can be erased, which makes it very, very hard to figure out who is selling and where we can find people who are selling fentanyl to young people. It is driving our overdose deaths, but another thing I want to say is that if you are near fentanyl and not touching it, it cannot hurt you. That's another thing I want you to know about it.
If you're free.
So how do I respond to an overdose? Latoya asked you to raise your hands. It sounds like many of you have either been in overdose situations, friends, family, or have heard of them. So the very, very first thing you do is call 911. And I'm gonna get into, in another slide, a law called Steve's Law that protects you as the person calling 911 from ever getting into trouble. If you see any of these signs of an opioid overdose, stopped breathing, loss of consciousness, their skin is discolored, their lips or fingertips, that's when you call 911. If they are unresponsive, you can give them naloxone or Narcan. It's a life-saving medicine that can reverse an opioid overdose. We can help you and give you resources if you are interested in how to get Narcan. It is sold over the counter, and there are also resources in our community where it can be free. I think I just have a few more, and then I'm going to hand it over to Lolita. Fentanyl comes in different forms: powder, liquid, pill, many, many different colors. It makes it hard to know what it is and what it's in. People may not know that they're taking fentanyl because it is often mixed into other pills that you think you are taking. Naloxone is the reversal agent for an overdose.
But you can also, even if you have naloxone and Narcan is administered, you can still die.
Correct. Sometimes the fentanyl is more powerful than the naloxone, and so that is why it's important to call 911 first, get an emergency person on the way, give the naloxone, and then wait. Stay with the person until the medical services arrive. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is called Steve's Law. It's a Minnesota law that protects you. And look at the middle slide here, of a person who calls 911 to report a drug overdose is protected from being charged for using or possessing drugs related to that overdose. It means if you know somebody is using these illicit drugs and they're in trouble and you call 911, you cannot get in trouble. And then my last slide about this education and fentanyl facts is that if you know that you have prescription pills in the house, we always recommend a lockbox. You might have little siblings, you might have little cousins, you might have other people you don't want to touch them. And making sure, what is this? Oh, because the commonly misused opioids are prescriptions that you can pick up from a pharmacy. So we want to make sure that they are safe from other people in your household. We have tons and tons of resources if you want to know more. We have tons of resources if you need more education, if you need Narcan, if you're worried about yourself, a family member, somebody close to you, if you need resources for what do I do next, what do I do for myself. We have all of these. I don't know if they're on your phone app. I don't know how that works anymore because I didn't go to school now. I went in 1999. You can take a screenshot. We can mail this to you, but there are endless resources if you feel like you need to reach out and learn more about this. I'm going to hand it over to Lolita. She's going to talk a little bit more about what Hennepin County is doing with funds that we have.
Yeah, you should expect, it's your county, these are things that you should expect from your politicians, from your administrators, the people that collect taxes, and what are we doing and what is the work. So right now, the pharmaceutical companies were all sued nationally for the opioid crisis. Because of that, we have the opportunity to spend a lot of settlement dollars, especially in Hennepin County. So we're getting about $70 million to fight the opioid crisis, exactly what we're doing here today, talking about it and saving lives, because you can't go to treatment or recovery if you have overdosed and have died. That's just not ever going to happen. You're not going to bring that person back. So one of the things that we look at is what are people doing as they're using, trying to meet people where they are, and then facilitate many options that they may have in order just to keep them safe. So we're responsible, Julie and I, for distributing about $70 million going through 2040. We have a lot of community agencies. We have a lot of agencies that are doing youth intensive work and really focused on youth. Two of the disproportionately affected communities are the African American community and the Native American. The Native American community is 10 times more likely to be affected by opioid overdose deaths, and African American, especially our male African American men, are 6 times as likely. And this audience reflects a lot of the diversity, which is beautiful, but it's also the diversity that's included in the fentanyl crisis right now. We have, these are some of the things that we are working on right now. I will tell you, pregnant new parents, youth and younger people, really important for the work that we're doing in the being culturally specific. Every response is different in every community. I'm from the Latino community. We respond very differently and need different type of communications, not only because a lot of our family and our grandmothers are not bilingual, but just because of our culture. We want to make sure that we're bringing these resources to the community in an appropriate way.
So this is one more piece of data that I'm going to share with you, and if you remember nothing from this presentation, what I want you to know is that we know fentanyl is affecting you in your age group, and we see you, and we're very concerned about this trend for young people. So I want to describe this slide to you so that you know what's going on. This is called opioid-related hospital visits. These are not deaths. In Hennepin County, ages 0 to 17, any hospital in Hennepin County, North Memorial, HCMC, Yelena, Abbott, Fairview, doesn't matter. The dark blue means that somebody 0 to 17 showed up at our emergency room with a known opioid overdose that did not kill them. It means we were able to give them Narcan and they survived. The light blue means that somebody age 0 to 17 showed up at an emergency department for something else. Maybe they showed up for alcohol use, maybe they showed up with a broken leg, maybe they showed up for something completely different, and during that visit, we found out that they had opioid use. And maybe even an opioid use disorder. So it's a little bit hidden in this age group, which means we have a huge opportunity to reach out to this age, 0 to 17, because we know that a lot more is going on than what we can actually see. And we want to make sure that everybody knows that they have resources and help and hope for whatever is going on.
Yeah, I'm going to move fairly quickly because we're running out of time. Julie noted that there's a couple of slides that are really important. You take nothing back with you. For your youth and for where you are in your life, actually information is power and control. And if you don't have information from wherever you get it, then you are lost in trying to figure out how you respond to things and how you translate information. So part of the job that we have is to give you the information, the right information, and to steer you to where you can get the right information, because you're not going to necessarily get it from your friends or your parents, but going to websites and really understanding that website, and you guys are all savvy with technology, and trying to get as much information so that you have the education and the right answer when you're going through these things. That's what we want to help with. That's what we want you to come out of this with. These pills that are being pressed to look like what is being prescribed by doctors are killing people, are killing your youth. And unless you know that, when you're taking something at a party and somebody wants to share, say no, yeah, say no, because that might be the last time that you share anything with anybody else. So really, it is a crisis, and we just want to make sure that you know there are resources and that there's assistance, and that we're really focusing on youth, both through our public health, corrections, human services, and that you have access to us. And we're going to just hear some of the youth groups that are out there. We have many others that are providing services as well. And part of what we were trying to do on our advisory committee is we are trying to bring in more youth to give us more information about what we should be doing.
Uh-oh.
Guys, just wait, please. Wait till we hear the bell. Please wait.
Thank you, Lolita and Julie. So I just want to give you some quick takeaways before you guys leave. One, we are not sharing pills. You can get a bottle of Tylenol or Advil at your corner store, at your CVS, at your Walgreens. We are not asking our friends for pain medication anymore. We're not doing that. Two, we are going to be informed on how to save a life. So if you have someone that is around you or that is near you, we need you to become an ambassador and learn how to administer Narcan. It is a 15-minute tutorial on YouTube. That's all you have to do. Go watch it. It's super simple. You can buy Narcan on Amazon and at Walmart. Thank you guys. I appreciate y'all.
That there are treatments and there is a way to lead a super healthy and productive life. But now that I'm a mother, I'm far more focused on the youth aspect than I ever have been, and making sure that people as young as we can find them have access to this knowledge.
How long have you been doing this, providing these education for young people?
So at least 6 years I've been doing this, but as a nurse, nurses are educators, so I've been doing that for over 20 years.
Do you think it's working?
Yes. And, we're watching the fentanyl crisis just grow and grow in our community, so it's hard to know what's working because the crisis is getting bigger no matter what we do. But I think that any youth, any person that we can give information to, I think that's helpful. They can bring it home, they can talk to their friends.
What would you say to parents that may be watching you or adults in the community that may be watching you?
I would say honesty here is key. Honesty and openness about talking about this at home in your families. Knowing what your kids are doing, who they're hanging out with, if they are taking pills from friends, if they are experimenting with substances. It's really important for parents to know that one pill can kill, that they need to teach their kids that this can be really dangerous, and that building relationships with their kids that are honest is the best thing they can do to make sure their kids are alive through this phase of their life.
A message to young people as well.
Young people, be aware. The scene has changed. This is not a time of adolescence where you can experiment with substances with your friends and not have any consequences. The consequences now, because of fentanyl, are potentially death after one pill. And so the message is being very, very aware of what you are doing and who you are spending time with and making good choices.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
All right. And I'll tell you, we just rolled our cameras over.
That needs to have 13 to 18-year-old peer recovery specialists that look like them and have gone through the same things and can give feedback about some of the work that we're doing. We also have a lot of community liaisons who have been going out into the community. So we have this young man, African American, who just went out to one of the community organizations in North, and from there we just got picked up 3 different things. One, coke is on the rise. People are using codeine, and and the amount of money they're spending on fentanyl, which has now even been gone down more than it was.
And what are you doing for youth to trust your organization?
For youth,
what are you doing for youth to trust your organization? Because
That's a great question.
I could tell from definitely that about what you were presenting and about the people around the room that the resources you gave might not be trustworthy because we don't even trust our own school system. So what are you doing to present that?
Well, I think one of the best ways to do it is to bring youth to do these presentations. So I was just talking to Latoya and Amber. There's an organization called Change the Outcome, and all their messaging is done by youth in both the data and sort of resources. And I think one of the things that will help a lot is as we start focusing on the peer recovery specialists in that age group, in order to start facilitating, okay, what are really the resources? It's simple. For right here, it's don't take a pill that isn't prescribed and you're picking up in a pharmacy. I mean, that's about as simple as it gets. 2, don't trust your friends to tell you whether it's safe or not. That doesn't happen. People die when that happens. And 3, Narcan, distribution of Narcan, and having everybody able to use Narcan and use it effectively, and then call 911. When you're in, one of the things that we've been talking about when you are in a home where parents are using, and that happens a lot, because we have a lot of deaths that have come from children being exposed to fentanyl, and we have prosecution of those cases, and that's not necessarily the best scenario, but there is an option, and there is some judicial process and prosecution of those cases. But the other thing is awareness for the parents as well, like getting information and getting education to especially pregnant parents. And there are many young pregnant parents, and the choices they're making, how we can help and support them. Everybody's in a different place. We don't expect somebody to just say, I'm not going to stop using tomorrow just because we tell them to. That's not happening. So we have to kind of figure out what's the best way to reach youth, what's the best way to reach elderly Spanish families who don't speak English, and they see their grandchild or their child start using.
What kind of feedback are you getting from the youth from these presentations?
This is the first one we've done for Inner Hero, and we have other organizations that are more expert in the youth forums than us. I mean, we're more like policy driven and things like that, but we also are funding a lot of organizations in the community that have youth programming, and they are getting their evaluations about the work that they're doing.
In terms of challenges, what can you say as it relates to making these messages resonate with the young people?
Well, the one thing that we're going to start doing is we have a very big communications and education plan that we're working on right now, and that is going to be informed by the communities that are most affected and the youth as well, because we really want to figure out what communication is most effective for the 13 to 18-year-old African American men, for African American and Somali young ladies. So we're starting to develop a very aggressive education campaign for this year.
And what can you speak about the partnership with the Inner Hero? You saw the young people in here today. This is not the first time we've been here with them on different topics, but what can you speak about when it comes to the partnership with the Inner Hero?
Well, I will tell you that we have been at the same forums, we've seen each other, and then once we started talking about the programming and what the goals are, they align perfectly with what we are doing. So we are going to be attached at the hip to talk about how we're going to be presenting and soliciting feedback and communication from youth.
You want to add up to that?
Yeah, absolutely. We met Latoya as a partner for one of the cities in Hennepin County who also receives funding to address the opioid crisis, and had an immediate relationship that was just absolutely wonderful. Goals aligned, and we knew that we had the same foundational goals of what we wanted to do. So when she called and asked us to work with Inner Hero, it was very easy to say yes. We want to support youth. We want to support her work, especially in the people who live in these cities in this part of Hennepin County.
And we already asked Julie if you had to say a word to parents or adults out there, what would be your message?
It's a difficult time for everybody, not only with the chaos of what's happening in the world, but it's so close to everything right now. There were, you know, when people used drugs before, it didn't kill them necessarily instantly. So you make a choice, you get one pill, and that could be the end of your life. And so I think having parents engage and know what their kids are doing, who they're with, you know, what social media platforms they're on, things like that, those are all going to be key.
Okay, thank you so kindly. It's nice having you guys.
Now,
And I tell you, Ambrose Russell is the head of the In the Hero. Mr. Russell, welcome. We didn't see it too much or hear too much from you. You were mostly in the background encouraging the young people. What do you make of the presentation here today?
I would say the presentation is excellent, and one of the things I picked from the program is that the young people want to be center of the program, to be the presenter, and I love that because change comes a lot of times when you see yourself as the people who you're sending the message to. And I think what we're going to do is shift that part of the program, have the young people, the students, so to speak, being the presenters and the more particular of the program.
And I know you're not just providing education, you are also learning. What can you say about those things you see on the faces of these young people when they gather in these rooms?
I see the hunger for education, see the hunger for change, see the mindset to cause the next destiny to be better than the one we have right now. And it is incumbent upon us as the present leaders to make sure we create those spaces that they can take the torch from where we stop and create the final finish line to be better than what we have right now.
There's no doubt that the opioid crisis or drug abuse among young people is huge. What would be your message finally to young people, to parents as well?
Don't take drugs. Don't share drugs. Only take prescription if it's given to you. 1. 2. Have all the necessary information. Go about your business, getting all the necessary training. And hopefully, if some family member, friend, or your surroundings overdose, you have the rightful idea and the rightful tool to help that person survive. But again, stay away. No drugs. No drugs. No drugs.
All right, Ambrose Russell there, finishing up with us here at the Inner Hero Youth Civic Education Series here at the Copo High School. Today, the opioid and drug situation was on the topic, the front burner, as the young people listen. KMTV, we are everywhere. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
For politics, entertainment, news, and business. And this is KMTV. We are on the screen, we are everywhere. The best online Liberian platform you have. Make the best use of it. My name is Frank Adams, and I endorse this channel.